And we are live. Hopefully the audio is good. Please let me know in the comments if you can hear me. So this morning, February 8th, 2024 at 6:02 UTC, an eruption started close to Sundindiga, close to the area where the eruption started on the 18th of December, the last eruption. The eruption fissure at the beginning of the eruption was 3 kilometers long, but the fissure was getting longer based on views from webcams. We're going to show you the eruption from its inception, which is beginning in just a second here on the screen you're looking at. Hit the thumbs up, share this video so that others can be informed about what's happening in our world. Let me see if we've got confirmation. Yes, everyone can hear me. Welcome to the show, Tammy, Jim, John, 99 bottles of Jack, and Anthony, Gilmer, many others. We appreciate you here. What you're looking at is the Blue Lagoon to the left. That's that blinking light, which has a large, impenetrable barrier around it, a huge earthworks they've put. And luckily, the eruption starts just on the other side of the barrier. Let's just move this through so we can get you to the eruption. There it is. Holy macaroni. And so we're gonna watch it through as we do the podcast from the inception here. Again, we're looking at about 8 hours ago, 6:02 UTC in Iceland when the eruption began. Now, the eruption is in a favorable location, thankfully, since it's far away from buildings and infrastructure, and it is also protected due to all of the earthworks that they've been doing. But that might change if the fissure stretches more south towards the town of Grindavik. This eruption started very quickly, as you can see. The seismicity involved was not as significant as the last time. So here, we're going to share the seismicity here. And you can see just about 9 hours ago, that uptick in seismicity was very small, but it led to the eruption nonetheless. All right. High Vibe Chef is in the house. We love you. We got the stock, brother. We appreciate you. Okay. The eruption started quickly, according to RUV. And from the start of the earthquake swarm until the eruption started, the time was only 30 minutes. The last eruption back on the 18th, there was several hours and a much larger seismic swarm. Now, the reasoning may be simple. And it may be because this is erupting in the same exact fissure as the last eruption, coming up, in fact, in the same weakness. So the crack was already there, and it was much easier for the lava to reach the surface. So I'm going to move this through here just a few. We get a different angle here. And this was the width of the fissure about 5 hours ago. So it was erupting continuously along a length of over a mile with some pretty spectacular heights. This activity has slowed down, and you can just move it through and you can get a little larger look at how long this fissure eruption is. It's absolutely amazing how large of the area was erupting. It was the entire length of the original fissure. And take a look at the lava flow. It pushed out enough lava in just a few hours to equal the last eruption. And we can move this through here into the daytime. So this is 6 hours and 50 minutes ago. This was the state of the fissure. And then as we enter the morning, it becomes much less visible. It doesn't look as fantastic as it did during the day here. So this was 4 hours and 50 minutes ago. And we'll push it through to an hour ago where the eruption has ceased. Very quick eruption. And the current state of the peninsula here, there appears to be only one small area erupting in the center here. So that is the current state of the eruption. It seems as if the entire fissure pushed out all the pressure that the magma was containing there, and the eruption is basically coming to an end. But when it was happening, it certainly was fantastic Take a look at that. Yes, it also broke water pipes and has gone across a road. So we'll get to that in just a second here, if I can find the latest updates. So geodetic data suggests the deformation has decreased significantly in the dike area. Therefore, probability of a new eruptive fissure opening has decreased. IMO has received notification of tetrafall in Grindavik. So good news that there was no one there. And the vigor of the eruption is in fact decreasing. The activity is now, as of 2 hours ago, they claimed in 3 locations, but what we just looked at shows about 1 location on the fissure, which opened this morning. This is not unlike the process observed in the eruption on the 18th of December, when the activity was confined to a few craters a few hours after the onset of the eruption. So those are the updates. Let me see if I can see what other types of updates they have here. No, we're not getting that. Okay. Bear with me. I just woke up here. So the eruption is in fact extremely reduced according to the experts, when we just have to look at it to know that. And there was phreomagmatic explosions from the fissure. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let's take a look at this photo here together. So earlier today, as the eruption was slowing down, a huge explosion occurred because the magma mixed with the groundwater. Now, this is the most dangerous scenario, where you can have violent eruptions like Hunga Tonga, which was ultra Surtsian because of the amount of ocean water that rushed into that caldera. Here, it's just the groundwater, but a phreomagmatic explosion nonetheless. So I hope that brings you up to speed there. The road was covered in lava, and I can't seem to find these updates, which I could easily find earlier. Kind of interesting. Here we go. So here is an update. Lava has engulfed a hot water pipe. Unfortunately, after the road was being cut by the lava flow, the advancing flow front continued to destroy another important object in its path. About a half an hour ago, the lava reached a hot water pipe, the main transport channel for hot water from Svartsengi to Reykjanes Peninsula. And from the live stream webcam imagery, abundant vapor emissions indicate that the pipe has undergone a damaging, it was destroyed. Hot water will be safe for the next hour until another precaution will be taken. In order to save hot water, residents are advised to keep waiting for the starting of the electric heating as long as possible. Whatever that means, it's certainly a translation from Icelandic into English, and it really doesn't mean much at this time. But what is important is that hot water is very important for cities in and around Iceland because it keeps the infrastructure from freezing. So they have to warm pipes underneath the earth, or else the pipes freeze and then there's no water. And then all the pipes burst. So hopefully they can fix that problem. They have dealt with this before, so it seems like that is going to be good news. Now, the phreomagmatic eruption we saw was in the fissure itself, when some of the lava coming up mixed with the groundwater. We'll go back over and show you that picture. Yeah, here. And you can see that this is in the center of the lava field. So the hot water pipe was due to this extension of the lava flowing down and over a road. So that's a little different than what we've been looking at. But quite a spectacular event that I slept through, and most of us did, the entire night. But the good news is that Live from Iceland has the entire event over at their YouTube channel, and I will have the link below where you can go and watch it yourself. So I'll take a few quick questions, and then we'll dive back into this topic later tonight on Oppenheimer Ranch Project around between 6 and 8 p.m., depending on when I put the update up. So, one super chat. We appreciate you. Thank you, Eric Hatchett. You are appreciated. I didn't even take the first sip of my coffee of the day. It's right here. And I actually had to make the coffee after I woke up before I started the live stream. So, Music Lover Forever says they don't talk about the quakes on the Atlantic Ridge as it stops them blaming the ocean warming on global warming. I don't even know what that means, but they certainly don't talk about the quakes on the Atlantic Ridge because they happen all the time and they're usually 5 magnitude or less. So they're not significant quakes, Music Lover. And the only quakes that have anything to do with this eruption are the quakes that are happening on the Mid-Atlantic Ridge on Iceland, on the island above the ocean. Jan Blackman heard about it last night, but didn't have many details. Yeah, they don't seem to want people to know about these things. They want you to be scared about World War III, not about a volcanic eruption. The entire town of Grindavik has been evacuated for months. And after the December 18th eruption, they deemed the whole town a disaster area and no one can go back there. So they're working out the insurance now because it's only the 3 people whose homes were destroyed during the December eruption that are getting insurance claims, when the rest of the homes that weren't destroyed by lava are now, well, you can't come back. So we're going to see what's happening in Grindavik over the next year or so. There is going to be some battles, but there's no one in this area except for emergency preparedness people that are building the barriers, and people trying to keep the town up and running in the meantime, because most people haven't gotten all their things out. They're only allowed to come in for 3 hours at a time to get some stuff. And clearly, you know that it takes much longer than that to move all this stuff out of your house. Would it be possible that the Blue Lagoon is flit with underground lava? Is filled with? No, the Blue Lagoon is on the other side of a barrier from this eruption, and none of this lava should reach the Blue Lagoon. Now, due to the phreomagmatic nature of that explosion, maybe the Blue Lagoon was drained and some of that groundwater is missing, but it should fill back up again. I don't know much about the way the Blue Lagoon works, but they're simply using wastewater effluent from the hydrothermal plant to have people soak in. So that's what that is. Yeah, the biggest thing we have to worry about on Iceland is not the Reykjanes Ridge. So here we are at the seismicity at the Reykjanes Ridge. You can see where the seismic activity is concentrated around the eruption. Here is the seismic bump, which led to the eruption just about 30 minutes after it began. But the big worry is that, historically speaking, Alasja, Bardabunga, Grimsvötn, or other large volcanoes like Hekla or Katla. So Katla, Grimsvötn, Bardabunga, and Alasja all have had seismic activity in the last 24 to 36 hours. And in historic context, when the Reykjanes Ridge is erupting, which it has been now for years, another large eruption occurs from one of the main volcanoes. This would be closer to VEI 3, 4, or 5, may shut down air travel and be much more significant than any of these tiny little fissure eruptions that we've been watching. So we need to keep a close eye on these regions, like the Vatnajökull Glacier here, which has Bardabunga up here, Grimsvötn in the center, because these are the dangerous volcanoes that really will make a significant impact on the rest of the planet. These tiny fissure eruptions mean very little to anyone except people that are local in Iceland. New Zealand, keep an eye out for. Well, there has been a new heating cycle under Rapehu, but that is a normal cycle of activity. There is no evidence that there is any imminent eruption in New Zealand. .6 in Melbourne. None of the CMEs are earth-facing. None of them are major. So I would think that none of them could cause an earthquake. And a 4.6 is normal activity anywhere, even in areas that don't typically have earthquakes. It's a very low-level earthquake and nothing to be worried about. The warming of the North Atlantic is not climate change, and it has nothing to do with volcanoes. They're measuring the surface temperature. So volcanoes would be warming deep in the ocean, at the floor of the ocean where the volcanoes were erupting if they were underwater volcanoes. The problem is that there was a mandate in 2022 to eliminate high sulfur diesel being burned in ships. The entire North Atlantic was covered in smog for decades until last year, when all of the high sulfur burning diesel was stopped. And the Atlantic now no longer has any ship tracks. The ship tracks were keeping the North Atlantic cool from the sun. And now there is no clouds over the North Atlantic from ships burning dirty fossil fuels like high sulfur diesel. And therefore, the Atlantic heated rapidly. And so all the climate alarmists and the fearmongers showing that rapid warming of a half a degree of the Atlantic are very disingenuous, because they are uninformed on what's actually happening on Earth. The fact that the Atlantic has now 0 ship tracks and is rapidly warming to its optimal temperature, which it should be, because there is no more clouds preventing the surface from heating. Them's are the facts. Looking for a few more questions here. Everyone looking for this antipode thing, wherever that came, that internet fear porn, it means nothing, and it has nothing to do with anything. There is no activity on antipodes after earthquakes. Usually, there is no evidence for it, not a single peer-reviewed paper. The similar types of hokey stories come with eclipses, where people think that eclipses cause earthquakes. Now, so it would take you literally 5 seconds to prove. All you do is you go up into that search bar up top and you say, do eclipses cause earthquakes? And you'll get your answer. And if you don't like your answer, you'll get a million other answers you can go research. So there is no relationship with antipodes and earthquakes or volcanic eruptions, none whatsoever. And eclipses don't cause earthquakes either. Dutch Sense is a fraud. He was a solar installer. He never went to any higher learning for any science. He simply extracts $80,000 from his stupid followers annually to pay for his $1 million condo. And he pretends that he's doing something, which he's not. So please stop watching that guy. I will see you at the Seed Exchange, High Vibe Chef, and thank you for the broth. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll let this run for just a few more minutes, and we'll see you all later tonight on Magnetic Reversal News. And that's a boom.